Have you ever been insulted by someone who acted like they were better than you, yet deep down you knew it wasn't strength but insecurity? People who disrespect others aren't proving their dominance, they're revealing their own weakness. Insults are often just a mask, a desperate attempt to feel superior by making someone else feel small. But here's the truth: the moment you react the way they want, you give them power. What if, instead of defending yourself, you flipped the script? What if you made them the one who looked insecure, desperate, and powerless? Stoicism teaches that true strength isn't found in retaliation. It's in control, in wisdom, in making the aggressor expose their own weakness. In this video, I'll show you how to handle disrespect with effortless composure, turning an insult into a mirror that reflects the insulter's own insecurity. Because the real power move isn't fighting back, it's making them realize they never had power over you to begin with. Let's dive in. 1. Pretend you misunderstood. There's something deeply frustrating about a person who refuses to be insulted. Think about it. When someone tries to put you down, their goal isn't just to throw words at you, it's to provoke a reaction. They want to see you flinch, get defensive, maybe even lash out. Why? Because that reaction gives them power. It validates their ability to control how you feel. But what if you refuse to play along? What if, instead of reacting how they expect, you turn their insult into something meaningless? Or better yet, something positive. Insults only work when they land. When someone throws an insult your way, they expect a predictable outcome: hurt, anger, retaliation. But the moment you respond in a way they didn't anticipate, their entire strategy collapses. Suddenly, they don't look confident anymore. They look confused, frustrated, and, ironically, deeply insecure. They realize they have no control over your emotions, and that realization eats away at them. The insult they carefully crafted to embarrass you has now turned against them, and there's nothing more humiliating than watching your own words betray you. I learned this firsthand in high school. There was a guy, let's call him Kevin. Kevin thrived on attention. If he wasn't the center of the conversation, he'd find a way to make himself the focus, even if it meant putting someone else down. One day, I was his target. We were in the hallway between classes when he smirked and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Man, you really think you're smart, huh?" His voice was dripping with sarcasm, designed to make the crowd turn against me. My ego flared up. I wanted to snap back, to hit him with something sharp, to make him look like the fool. But then I realized that's exactly what he wanted. So instead of playing his game, I did something unexpected. I smiled and said, "Wow, thanks, man. That means a lot." His expression shifted instantly. He wasn't expecting that. He blinked, trying to process what just happened, then scrambled to double down. "No, I mean, you act like you know everything." I nodded enthusiastically. "Yeah, man, I love learning new things. I really appreciate you noticing." The hallway erupted, not in laughter at me, but at him. He had set up the insult perfectly, expecting me to fall into his trap. Instead, he was the one left fumbling for words, trying to clarify that, no, he was actually trying to be mean. But by that point, it didn't matter. He had already lost. That moment taught me something powerful. When you refuse to be insulted, the insulter becomes the fool. People who use insults as a weapon aren't doing it from a place of strength. They do it because they need to feel superior. Their power isn't real. It's borrowed from the reactions they can pull out of others. But when you refuse to react, you strip them of that illusion. They wanted to belittle you, but now they look weak. They wanted to control you, but now they're the ones scrambling for control. They wanted the crowd to laugh at you, but now the crowd is laughing at them. This is the psychology of insecurity. Truly confident people don't need to tear others down. They don't need to prove their worth by making someone else feel smaller. It's only the weak who rely on insults, and weak people hate when their insults fail. That's why the simple act of pretending to misunderstand an insult is so powerful. It doesn't just neutralize the attack, it exposes the person throwing it. And the best part? This works in any situation. If a coworker says, "Wow, you sure take your time with reports," just smile and reply, "Yeah, I like getting things perfect. Appreciate you noticing." Now they look like a bitter complainer. If someone at a party says, "You don't talk much, do you?" just nod and say, "Yeah, I love listening. It's how I learn." Now you look wise, and they look insecure for pointing it out. If a relative says, "You still haven't figured out what you're doing with your life," just grin and say, "Nope, life's an adventure, and I'm loving the ride." Now they look like a joyless critic. No matter the context, this approach works because it forces the insulter to face a simple truth. When they try to bring you down, it only reveals how insecure they are. They expected you to crumble, but instead, they're the one left floundering. Stoicism teaches us that real power isn't in controlling others, but in mastering ourselves. The strongest person in the room isn't the loudest or the most aggressive. It's the one who remains unshaken. And when you refuse to let an insult affect you, you prove something undeniable. The person trying to drag you down is already beneath you. Second act, disappointed in them. When someone insults you, they expect anger. They expect defensiveness. They expect you to shrink, to lash out, or to stand there in awkward silence. What they don't expect, what they can't handle, is disappointment. Imagine this. Someone throws a jab your way, waiting for the reaction that will make them feel powerful. But instead of giving them what they want, you sigh, shake your head, and say, "Wow, I expected better from you." Watch what happens next. The power shifts instantly. Their smug confidence starts to crack. They thought they were making you look bad, but now they're the one left exposed. That simple sentence does something no insult or comeback ever could. It forces them to question themselves. Disappointment cuts deeper than anger because it's tied to expectations. Even if you don't hold this person in high regard, your response makes them feel as if they've failed a standard they didn't even know existed. No one wants to be seen as petty, immature, or cruel. Many people insult others to get attention or to feel superior, but when you respond with quiet disappointment instead of rage, the entire dynamic flips. Now, they're the childish one. And the beauty of this approach, it's effortless. You don't need to argue, explain, or defend yourself. Just let them sit with the weight of their own words. Think about a workplace scenario. A colleague makes a passive-aggressive remark about your performance in front of others. Instead of firing back, you take a slow breath, shake your head slightly and say, "I really thought you were better than that." Then you turn away and continue with your work. Now they're left standing there, embarrassed, exposed, and scrambling to justify themselves. Or imagine a social situation where a so-called friend makes a mean-spirited joke at your expense. Instead of laughing along or snapping at them, you calmly say, "That's disappointing, man. I expected more from you." Then you move on to another conversation, leaving them to sit with their own shame. Even in a family setting, this works. If a relative makes a rude comment about your life choices, you don't argue or defend yourself. You just sigh, shake your head, and say, I thought you'd be more supportive." Silence follows. Now they're the one who looks bitter and small. This works because it strips them of the reaction they crave. Most people who insult others aren't looking for the truth. They're looking for control. But when you show them that their words don't shake you, when you make it clear that their insult says more about them than it does about you, they have no choice but to face the reality of their own insecurity. And what happens next? They either backpedal, awkwardly trying to explain themselves, or they start avoiding insulting you altogether. Either way, you win. So next time someone insults you, don't fight back. Just sigh, look them in the eye and say, "That's disappointing." Then walk away. They'll feel that moment for a long, long time. 3. Use sarcasm to humiliate them. Sometimes the best way to deal with an insult isn't to ignore it, it's to turn it into a joke at their expense. Sarcasm, when used wisely, is a devastating tool. It takes their attempt at humiliation and flips it back on them, leaving them looking like the fool. Why does this work so well? First, it makes them look ridiculous. Instead of coming across as dominant, they now seem petty and insecure. Second, it shifts the attention of anyone watching. People naturally side with the person who remains composed and witty, not the one desperately trying to tear others down. And finally, it prevents escalation. A sharp, well-placed sarcastic remark disarms the situation, making it clear that their insult didn't even come close to affecting you. But execution is key. The best sarcastic comebacks are delivered with a calm, almost amused tone. No anger, no emotional reaction, just effortless confidence. A straight face makes it even funnier, and most importantly, you have to make them the punchline. The goal isn't to be cruel, but to make their insult look so absurd that they regret saying it in the first place. Imagine someone says, "Wow, you really screwed that up." Instead of getting defensive, you smirk and say, "Thank you, Captain Obvious. Where would I be without your brilliant insights?" Now they look like the one who's trying too hard. Or maybe they sneer, "You're not very smart, are you?" You shrug and reply, "Oh no, I'm actually trying to keep up with your genius level." Now they're the one who has to prove they're as intelligent as they pretend to be. Even something as shallow as "nice outfit, did you lose a bet?" can be flipped on them with ease. Just grin and say, "Yeah, I bet someone you'd say something dumb today. I won." Sarcasm is especially powerful in social situations. The moment someone tries to embarrass you, but you turn it into a joke that makes them look foolish, they lose control of the narrative. And nothing makes an insecure person more uncomfortable than realizing they are the laughingstock. Picture yourself at a party where someone mocks your job. Instead of getting defensive, you smirk and say, "Oh, I had no idea you were so invested in my career. Should I send you my resume?" Now they're the one who looks weirdly obsessed with your life. Or maybe someone takes a jab at your appearance. Instead of letting it get to you, you chuckle and say, "Yeah, I was actually going for the annoying people like you look today." Nailed it. The key to sarcasm isn't to be mean. It's to make them second-guess their own words. A well-placed sarcastic remark forces them to reflect, not on you, but on themselves. And when done right, they'll think twice before ever trying it again. 4. Flip it into a compliment. One of the most powerful ways to handle an insult is to twist it into a compliment so smoothly that it leaves the insulter speechless. Instead of reacting with anger or sarcasm, you disarm them completely by acting as if their insult was actually praise. It's effortless, unexpected, and most importantly, it shifts the power dynamic entirely. Why does this work so well? First, It neutralizes their attack. They wanted to offend you, but now they're the one confused, left wondering why their words had no effect. Second, it makes you look untouchable. Someone who can turn negativity into something positive radiates confidence. Nothing can shake them. And third, it exposes their immaturity. Instead of engaging in a petty exchange, you elevate yourself above their level, making them look small in comparison. This strategy works because it removes the emotional sting from their words. Instead of defending yourself, you embrace the insult like it was a gift, and suddenly they're the ones who look foolish. Imagine someone calling you a nerd, expecting you to feel embarrassed, and you simply smile and say, "Thank you. Intelligence is underrated these days." Now, instead of making you look bad, they've just highlighted one of your strengths. Execution is key. Keep your expression calm and confident. Nothing throws them off more than an unbothered reaction. Use a sincere tone, as if you genuinely took their words as a compliment. And then, without lingering, move on. Let them sit with their failed attempt to bring you down. Picture this in action. At work, a colleague scoffs, "Wow, you actually stayed late to finish that project? Get a life." You respond with a relaxed smile. "I know, right? My dedication is unmatched." Instead of making you look bad, they've just pointed out your work ethic. In social circles, a so-called friend sneers, "You're always talking about self-improvement. It's annoying." You reply effortlessly, "That means I'm making progress. I appreciate you noticing." Now they look like someone bitter about growth. Even at family gatherings, if a relative comments, "You really don't care what people think, do you?" you simply nod and say, "It's one of my best qualities." Just like that, their attempt to shame you turns into a moment of self-assurance. This tactic works because it completely reverses the power dynamic. The person insulting you expects resistance, frustration, or anger, but instead, they've just handed you an opportunity to reinforce your own confidence. Their words don't wound you, they fuel you. And what's worse for them, everyone around you sees that you don't crack under pressure. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a truly confident, successful person get rattled by a petty insult? Exactly. They don't, because they know their worth isn't defined by someone else's insecurity. At its core, this is verbal jujitsu. Instead of fighting back, you redirect their negativity into something that strengthens you. And the best part? Once people realize their insults don't affect you, they stop trying. So next time someone throws an insult your way, just smile, nod, and turn it into a win. They'll walk away feeling like they just lost a battle, because they did. 5. Act confused and make them repeat it. One of the most underrated yet powerful ways to handle an insult is to act like you simply don't understand it. Instead of reacting with anger, sarcasm, or defense, you throw the problem back at them, forcing them to repeat their words until they start to sound ridiculous or even embarrassed. Why does this work so well? First, it disrupts their momentum. The insulter was expecting a reaction, maybe frustration, maybe defensiveness, but instead, they get awkward silence and confusion. Second, it forces them to reflect. Making them repeat their insult highlights how immature or baseless it actually is. And third, it shifts the power dynamic entirely. They were trying to embarrass you, but now they're the ones stumbling over their words, unsure of how to continue. This strategy is effective because it flips the entire interaction. Instead of absorbing their negativity, you subtly place them in an uncomfortable position where they must justify their own insult. And the truth is, most people aren't ready for that. The execution is simple, yet devastating. Keep a neutral expression, don't smirk or appear sarcastic. Genuine confusion works best. Ask for clarification in a calm, almost curious tone, as if you truly don't understand what they mean. Then let them struggle. The more they explain, the weaker their insult becomes. Imagine someone scoffs, "You're such a loser." Instead of reacting, you tilt your head slightly and ask, "Wait, what do you mean?" "In what way?" Now they have to awkwardly explain why they think you're a loser, something they likely never even thought through. Or someone mocks, "You dress like a clown." Instead of taking offense, you calmly ask, "I don't get it. What do you mean by that?" Suddenly, they're stuck trying to articulate why they think your outfit is bad. And, in doing so, they start to sound petty or foolish. This works in almost any scenario. At work, if a coworker sneers, "Wow, you take your job so seriously," you simply reply, "I'm not sure what you mean. Should I not take it seriously?" Now they're forced to admit they were just being petty or backtrack entirely. In social circles, if someone says, "You always talk about deep stuff, it's kind of weird," you raise an eyebrow and say, "Oh? What do you mean by weird?" Now they have to explain why meaningful conversations are a bad thing, which makes them look shallow. Even at family gatherings, if a relative jokes, "You're really bad at small talk, huh?" you respond neutrally, "Huh? What do you mean?" Now they have to awkwardly justify why they think the way you communicate is wrong. This works because most insults are impulsive and shallow. They rely on quick emotional impact, not actual logic. By slowing the moment down and forcing the person to explain themselves, you make them confront the emptiness of their words. More often than not, they'll start to backpedal with a, never mind, or they'll awkwardly fumble through their explanation until they start sounding ridiculous. Either way, you win. People don't like to justify insults because deep down, they often don't even believe in what they're saying. They're just looking for a reaction. But when you stay calm and make them break it down, their confidence in their own words crumbles. And once they realize their insults don't land, they stop trying. So next time someone tries to put you down, don't react. Stay calm, act confused, and make them work for it. Because trust me, most people don't have the courage to repeat what they just said when they're forced to actually think about it. 6. Expose their weakness. When someone insults you, they're often revealing more about themselves than about you. Most insults are projections, reflections of their own fears and insecurities. Instead of reacting emotionally, flip the script. Subtly highlight their weakness, forcing them to realize their insult had nothing to do with you. It was about them all along. This works because it puts them on the defensive. They expected you to feel insecure, but now they're the ones second-guessing themselves. It also shifts the power dynamic. Instead of getting drawn into negativity, you stay composed and in control. And most importantly, it forces them to confront their true motives. People who insult others often do so to cover up their own shortcomings. Once exposed, their words lose all weight. Execution is simple. Stay calm. Act curious, as if you're genuinely trying to understand why they said what they did. A well-placed question can make them uncomfortable without you ever being aggressive. I remember a time when a so-called friend of mine always had something negative to say whenever I talked about self-improvement. One day I mentioned how I was waking up earlier, reading more, and staying disciplined. He smirked and said, "Why do you try so hard? You think you're better than everyone?" Instead of getting defensive, I paused and asked, "Do you feel like you're not trying hard enough?" His expression changed instantly. He stammered something about just joking, but I could tell the conversation had already shifted. My ambition had reminded him of what he wasn't doing, and now he had to sit with that realization. This approach works everywhere. If a coworker sneers, "You take your job way too seriously," just ask, "Why does my work ethic bother you?" If someone says, "You're so quiet, it's weird," smile and ask, "Does silence make you uncomfortable?" If a friend mocks your ambition, "Why do you try so hard?" simply respond, "Do you feel like you're not trying hard enough?" Most people aren't ready to justify their insults. Once they realize they've exposed themselves, they either backtrack or stop insulting you altogether. 7. Walk away like they're not worth your time. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. When someone insults you, they're not making a profound statement. They're looking for a reaction. They want to see you flustered, upset, or defensive. But when you simply shrug and walk away, you send a message far stronger than words. You're not even worth my energy. This works because it deprives them of satisfaction. Their entire goal was to get under your skin, and by refusing to engage, you show that they've failed. It also makes them feel insignificant. When you act as if their words don't matter, you make it clear that they don't matter. And most importantly, it demonstrates absolute confidence. Only someone truly secure in themselves can ignore an insult and move on without needing to prove anything. The key is in the execution. Keep your body language relaxed. No rushing, no tension, just calm indifference. Don't give them a second glance. Looking back gives them hope that they still have your attention. If anything, maintain a slight smirk, as if you know something they don't. That alone is enough to make them question themselves. I remember back in high school, there was a guy who thrived on making others feel small. One day, as I stood by my locker, he muttered just loud enough, "Wow, trying way too hard to be cool." I didn't flinch. I didn't even look at him. I just grabbed my stuff, shut my locker, and walked away as if he didn't exist. And that was it. He never tried messing with me again. This works in any situation. At work, if a coworker mocks you in a meeting, just smile, nod, and continue working. They'll soon realize they're talking to themselves. In social settings, if someone tries to embarrass you at a party, don't defend yourself. Just grab your drink and walk away, leaving them looking desperate for attention. Even in relationships, if a partner tries to bait you into an argument, say nothing and leave the room. They'll be left stewing in their own frustration. Not every battle is worth fighting. Some people thrive on drama, hoping to pull you into their negativity to feel powerful. But when you refuse to engage, you make it clear that their words mean nothing. And that, ironically, is the biggest insult of all. Next time someone insults you, don't argue, don't react, just walk away. Because nothing screams power like acting as if they don't even exist. At the end of the day, how you handle insults says more about you than the insult itself. Weak people get defensive, insecure people fight back, but those who are truly confident, they don't waste energy proving their worth to others. Walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's choosing peace over petty battles. Ask yourself, is this person worth my time, my energy, my peace of mind? If not, don't give them what they want. Let them sit with their own frustration while you move forward, unshaken. Because real confidence doesn't argue, it simply exists. The more you value yourself, the less nonsense you tolerate. So next time someone tries to pull you down, remember, Not every battle is worth fighting. Comment below. Stay unshaken. More wisdom is coming. Stick around.